As always, nothing you hear on the Stripped Pod should be a substitute for personalised professional medical advice. Please always consult your clinician or other medical professional before making any changes to your diet, dosages, or healthcare plan.
Hello and welcome to the Stripped Pod, your weekly diabetes fix, where we strip back the stigma for real, honest conversation about diabetes beyond the numbers.
I'm Ash, a passionate diabetes advocate and founder of Strip Supply.
And I'm Braden, co-host Without a Working Pancreas.
Coming up on today's pod, we're chatting about the reality of diabetes in pregnancy with Emily from Emily's Diabetes. But first, Braden, what's been the high and the low of your week?
Well, it's good to be back, isn't it? We had a little week off, a little week hiatus.
A little hiatus.
We had a week off when I was down in Sydney, so obviously we didn't record while I was away, but...
While you were gallivanting.
Gallivanting, yes, and it was very nice. I'm not going to lie to you. It was a very nice gallivant. But we're back this week, which is really exciting, so stoked to be back. Look, I've had a pretty great week, and, I've had a great week. So obviously went to Sydney. I was like...
You're not sure?
Have I really? Have I? I've been crook as a dog. I came back from Sydney so sick, so that's why I was like, have I really had a great week? But I just came back from... I did. And, you know, the big old germ tube that flies through the air, I think that got me. So, had a great weekend in Sydney, exploring all the beautiful beaches down there. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. Like, I always hang a little bit of crap on Sydney, but it is beautiful. It's a beautiful part of the world. If I could afford to live there, I'd probably be tempted.
Oh, that's okay. You don't have to afford to live here. I live here and I can't afford to live here.
Well, maybe we'll just move in together somewhere and...
Yeah, we'll just like live in a shed in someone's backyard.
Yeah, happy days.
Happy days.
But that was beautiful. Had a really great time down there. It was nice to get away from Brisbane for a few nights and just explore somewhere different, somewhere new. So heaps of fun. Ate lots of food. And like when I say lots of food, like lots of food.
Like
so
lots of food.
Lots of food. The diabetes wasn't too happy. I'm not going to lie to you. It wasn't too happy, but like you got to do it when you're on holidays, right? Like you got to enjoy yourself. So it was great. Drank lots of beers, of course, knowing me.
Of course.
So between the food and the beers, yeah, the diabetes wasn't too. And then of course, came back a bit crook, but that's all right. These things happen. You're having a bit of fun. But apart from that, the diabetes has been all right. I think because I've been crook, I've actually last week I got 6 days out of a sensor wear, which is huge. Unheard of for me. And I changed it yesterday, and like I knew it was coming to change it because I wasn't wearing like a patch on it or anything, so it was about to fall off. Like I was just using the tape that's provided, but it was about to fall off, and it was getting a bit gross. So I was like, I'm just gonna ride this until it tells me to change it. And I finally did yesterday, but I got good 6 days out of it, which is huge. It wasn't, the usual 3 or 4 days for me.
No, that's a record for 2025.
But I think because I was sick, so I wasn't as active. So I'd only been to the gym a couple of times. I had no beach volleyball. I wasn't running either. So I wasn't like sweating as much.
Yeah, right.
I'm wondering if, that plays a part. We'll have to see this week. We'll see how things go. Yeah, I was pretty happy about that. Pretty stoked to finally get 6 days. And I also got like 6 days out of my set as well, which was amazing. So having a couple of wins with the diabetes, which is great.
Good.
Yeah. So apart from that, just back to work now. And, life goes on.
Back to normal.
How's things in Sydney?
Yeah, my week's been too. I actually don't think I have a low of the week.
Whoa.
I know.
Let's go.
I know. It was raining all weekend in Sydney, but I actually love the rain. I love it when it's like drizzly and I can open the door and just listen to the rain falling. Very relaxing. It also forces me to stay at home and do nothing. I started a new TV show called Hannibal. Ooh. Have you ever watched Hannibal?
No.
It's very good. It's kind of like The Mentalist. It's like Dexter. It's good.
Okay.
Highly recommend. Kind of annoyed that I had to watch season 1 on Amazon and now I have to watch season 2 on Stan. But first world problems.
That's so annoying.
It is annoying.
That's actually really annoying.
I'm just like, why? So I had to reactivate my Stan account. But very good show. Which reminds me, actually, did you ever finish The Silent Patient? The book?
No, not yet. No, I'm still going.
Yeah, right?
I forgot what the silent patient was.
Yeah,
then,
your
if
face
that
is
gives you
just
any indication.
completely blank. I was like, okay, he's put it
He
down, he's
definitely
lost
has
it.
not. Yes, no, it's still
Um,
sitting on my bedside table. I
that's
need
right.
to pick it back up.
You know what? I challenge you to read a chapter this week.
Okay, done.
Yeah.
I will do it.
But no, my week's been really good. No lows. The high has been a video that I forced you to record
Oh my God.
2 episodes ago.
Yeah.
Is going off on our socials. Clearly extremely relatable content. It was our video about what people with diabetes want non-diabetics to know. And just scrolling through the comments and like just seeing how many people are sharing it, it's made my week. It's sometimes
Amazing.
It just reminds you that we can have important conversations. We can talk absolute garbage sometimes, but we can also have important conversations on this podcast. Yeah, that was my high.
Look, it is great to see that going so viral and like people really resonating with that content. But I really hate that went viral.
I know. I messaged you that night when it started to kick off, when I posted it, and I was like, you're not going to like this.
No. I'd actually seen a fair few people reshare that on their own stories, and I was like, oh, this is not good news.
It's staying up.
Look, shout out to everyone who reshared it, but really?
Brayden he's a really good sport. I make him say a lot of stuff and film a lot of segments, so I appreciate that. But
I get held against my will.
Yeah, get taped down. But clearly super relatable, and everyone kind of found their community in the comment section, so that's been awesome to see.
And we love that. We do love that. So like I'm taking the Mickey out of it a little bit, but we do love that people are feeling so connected and resonating with the content, so it's really great.
Yeah.
So I'm stoked for you. I really am.
But speaking of your sensor, so a couple of weeks ago, we sent you some CGM patches from a whole bunch of different brands.
Yes.
Because you have never
Shout out to everyone.
Yes, shout out to everyone. We sent you patches from Not Just a Patch, from Glucology and Type 1 Strong. Because you'd never worn a patch before.
No, I haven't. No. So I normally just use the sticky tape that comes with the sensors. So
come in a dispenser as
well. No, it's not like a tape. It is like a patch that you put over the sensor. But look, to be honest, like it always starts peeling. So I've never tried a CGM patch before until drumroll, like last week.
How good.
So I'm easing myself into it, and I've gone with the clear, Not Just a Patch. And look, I'm not gonna lie to you, and this is obviously not an ad or anything like that, but I reckon you could seriously build a house with that stuff.
Yeah,
it is so sticky.
Just get rid of cement. We don't need that anymore. Yeah. Just stick Not just a patch.
They've cracked the code. You could rebuild a house using those patches. It was stuck on there. I've got one on my arm at the moment actually, and like you can see, it's obviously a clear patch, but they are super sticky and super strong. So I'll be getting back into a bit more exercise this week, and I'll be putting it through its paces. So we'll see how that goes, and I'll report back next week. But this is the second one of theirs that I've worn now, and the first one was unbelievable, and this one is feeling just as good. So I'll let you know next week. We'll see how we go. But
please do.
Honestly, if any construction companies listening, like, get these patches and build some houses because they're unbelievable.
I've always wondered, because particularly for you, because you wear your sensors on the back of your arm, right? How do you go putting a patch over it? Like, how do you line it up? Is that difficult?
It is, especially when it's on my right arm, because then I have to use my left arm.
Oh, no.
And obviously, like, I'm right-handed. So my left hand's a little bit uncovered. But look, I'm not going to lie, it was pretty easy. Like, they make it really easy. It's got, like, a couple of bits of adhesive that you peel off. And then you sort of just line it up and stick it on. And then peel off the backing of it as well, so it's clear. But they do make it as easy as you could possibly make it to stick one of these on your arm with one hand.
Because I can just see myself so messing that up if it didn't have like the two parts that you unstick. Like I would just make an absolute mess of it. Sometimes when I'm packing orders and I'm putting sticky tape on the boxes, like I'm sorry if anyone's ever received a strip supply box and they're like, what has happened with the sticky tape dispenser? Because it gets tangled and and then I just have to keep putting more more sticky tape on to fix it.
Like early days with the Medtronic tape stuff that they send you, it's a little bit more finicky, and if you're not careful, it can sort of like fold in on itself. And once it folds in on itself, you can't sort of unstick it.
Mhm.
So that happened a few times, like the first couple of times, because you got to try and hold it with one hand and make sure, sort of line it up. But I don't know, you get used to it, and these ones are super simple to put on. So yeah, really loving it. Shout out to Not Just a Patch.
Yeah,
unbelievable
groovy.
product.
We'll check back in with you next week to see how it went.
Definitely, yeah. Keen to report back.
So, Brayden, like we just talked about in episode 58, you shared some things people with diabetes want non-diabetics to know. I think it's safe to say, I'm going to call it, we went a little bit viral.
Yeah, we did. Yep. Unbelievable.
We had like over 200,000 views across TikTok and Instagram, over 400 comments. And so we thought, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah.
Don't reinvent the wheel, right?
Let's do it again.
Let's run it back, boys. So these are things diabetics want non-diabetics to know. Part 2 as voted by you, our community. So let's rip in.
Straight from the comment section.
So first of all, there is more than one kind of diabetes. There's actually 7. And no, there is no bad type of diabetes.
There is no bad type
You get
of
that
diabetes.
all the time. Do you have the bad type? Well, no, there is no bad type.
It's like, what is the bad type?
Yeah, shocking, honestly. Pull your head. My pump is not a Tamagotchi or a pager.
Is it not?
No.
Do you not need to feed it?
Yeah. I've got to keep this thing alive. I've got to keep myself alive. That's hard enough.
Isn't the meme that actually you are the Tamagotchi?
That's hurt. That's hurting.
Is that hurting the brain?
The more you think about that, yeah, you're probably right, actually. Eating better will not cure diabetes. Neither will the carnivore diet or just eating cinnamon.
Can you imagine just eating meat every meal and expecting it to cure diabetes?
I mean, I'd probably enjoy that, to be honest. Like, I love meat, but not that much. And no, it won't cure diabetes, so don't be silly. It's not just food that affects me. There's over 40 factors that can impact my blood sugar levels.
And
that's a big one.
That's a huge one. And sometimes you just can't control it.
And a lot of people probably don't know that. We talk about that a fair bit, but crazy that there's so many factors.
I know. Like, we couldn't even name them all if we wanted to.
No. Like, I could probably think of 3 off the top of my head.
I reckon I could maybe go 10. Like 10 at a push, maybe.
Yeah, nice. Should we test you or just keep moving on?
Absolutely not. Keep moving on.
Okay. The decision fatigue and alarm fatigue is more exhausting than the injections or needles. And I could preach for this one. Those alarms are annoying.
That's why you threw your CGM across the room a couple weeks ago.
It is. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Oops. No kind of diabetes was caused by eating too much sugar.
You didn't eat a 12-pack of donuts and then bing, bang, boom?
I mean, I might have, but I don't know if it's related.
It was correlation does not equal causation.
No, exactly right. Diabetes can be a silent killer. It's actually pretty serious. And actually, before the discovery of insulin in 1921, diabetes was literally a death sentence. Isn't that crazy?
That was not that long ago.
Shout out to Big Insulin.
Yeah. Shout out to Big Pharma.
Out to you. Yeah, keeping us alive.
Yeah. Thank you.
Diabetes is invisible. My body shape or size has nothing to do with it. Comes in all shapes and sizes.
Absolutely. How often have you been told, but you don't look sick?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But you're not fat.
Yeah.
Well, no.
It's not relevant.
Like, you don't have to be. Yeah. Absolutely. Diabetes is a full-time job, and no, I didn't do this to myself. It's not my fault, but it is my responsibility.
Oof.
Yeah, that hits hard. I've got to keep myself alive. And finally, Ashley, our favourite one, you can eat whatever you want. Whatever.
I fell it back.
Whatever you want.
I think that one was like the biggest comment. It's just like, yes, I can eat cupcakes if I want to. I can eat cake. Yeah. One woman even said she was buying a cake from like a supermarket and the checkout chick saw a CGM on her arm and literally said to her, you shouldn't be buying this.
Oh my God.
She was like, don't tell me what to eat. I want to eat a cake, I'm going to eat a freaking cake.
Don't diabetes shame me.
Yeah. But I did actually just want to read some of my favorite comments out from the TikTok video. Because TikTok is just another world. Like, I don't know if I'm pretty sure you don't have TikTok.
No, I don't. No.
The comment sections on TikTok are just so unfiltered. It's equal parts. Like
It's
it
unhinged.
can be good and bad. But these were some of my favorite comments from our TikTok video.
Far away.
A shout out to the person who commented on TikTok. Currently 5 a.m. Woke up to low alarms. Now I'm eating a honey sandwich in bed watching TikTok. And TikTok just knew they needed to see our video. Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Someone also said that when people ask her about her CGM, she says, "I'm being tracked by the government, lol."
Imagine like the thoughts in the other person's head when they hear that. Like,
because you would just believe them, right? Like I would, yeah.
Yeah. If you don't know better,
like a fancy ankle monitor.
Mm.
Someone commented after you talked about throwing your CGM across the room. Someone else commented, "I dream of taking them off," meaning their CGM, "and watching as a train comes along, and I get to watch as they are crushed." Like, it's a bit dark, but I love it. I'm here for it.
Yeah, it would be mildly satisfying. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah.
and in the same vein, I picked up this comment because I thought maybe you could try it next time. This person said, "Sometimes when mine shuts down, I just smack it with a bat. Very relieving."
Oh my God.
Maybe you should just save up your old sensors, like your used ones, and take them to one of those like smash rooms.
Yeah. Maybe I'll just take them to the golf course.
That would be such a fun diabetes community event. Is everyone just bring all of your old cartridges, your CGM sensors, your transmitters, and we'll just all destroy them together in a safe and confined space.
Or not on the golf course. Let's all go to the golf course, put the old sensors on a tee and just tee off.
Oh, I am feeling like a diabetes month event coming on of us at a golf course smashing sensors. That would be so much fun.
That would be fun.
Watch this space.
Yeah, coming to a golf course near you soon. Brilliant stuff. How goes TikTok, the community?
Oh, it's a lot of fun.
Unhinged, unfiltered, but wow, you get some gold.
Yeah, keep commenting. Tell us what you want people who don't have diabetes to know more about when it comes to diabetes. I said that in the most complicated way possible, but just not along and pretend like you understood.
I did. It works.
Good.
I got it.
But keep sending in what you wish more people knew about diabetes, and we will keep posting them.
Absolutely. Just before we dive into the content today in today's episode, JDR F1 walk I saw happened on the weekend.
It did.
And look, I'm very stoked that old photo that haunts me for the rest of my life didn't reappear. You know the one I'm talking about.
We all know the one you're talking about.
So stoked to not see that, but shout out to everyone who got involved and raised money for Breakthrough T1D.
Absolutely.
As they are now called.
Yes, very exciting rebrand. Obviously, they want to, they want more people to know that they're for, JDRF is for everybody. Well, Breakthrough is for everybody, not just young people and kids. And I feel like rained at some of the one walks in Queensland and people were still getting out there and walking. It was awesome to see.
Yeah, no, it was brilliant. Shout out to everyone who got involved and to everyone who raised money and to everyone who donated as well. Like, it's such a great cause. So really stoked to see the community rally behind that. But yeah, you're right. It hasn't stopped raining for like 2 weeks up here. It's like Alfred 2.0. But that's by the by. Good to see everyone getting out in the rain.
Yes, please stay dry.
Yes. So let's dive into today's episode. Today we're joined by type 1 diabetic, an almond croissant connoisseur, and new mum to a beautiful 8-month-old girl, Emily, or Emily's Diabetes on Instagram. Emily, welcome to the Strip Pod. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks, Braden. I'm very excited to be here.
We're so excited to have you join the podcast today. Obviously, we're going to be talking about all things pregnancy and diabetes, which I'm super interested to learn about. Obviously, it's not something that's really in my ballpark.
Good to know
shockingly.
about.
Yeah, but really good to know about. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of people out there who will benefit from this conversation. So really looking forward to it. And yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Firstly, though, we'll talk about you a little bit first and your background. So you're a type 1 diabetic as well. Do you want to talk us about your diagnosis, when you were diagnosed and how it all came about?
Well, I actually don't remember when I was diagnosed because I was 14 months old, so just a baby.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, huge for my parents, but great for me because I don't remember.
Don't know any different. Yeah.
Yeah, and so apparently I was just like super thirsty, wetting through all my nappies, and I was a very active baby, and then just all of a sudden became super lethargic, just wanted to nap all the time. So I actually got misdiagnosed, went to the GP. He did a whole bunch of tests, just said it was a virus. And then I just like deteriorated, in the following days.
Yeah.
And mum took me to the hospital and they said it was quite a close call there. Like if you had brought her in any later, would have been in a bit of strife. So the GP had lost my results or something. But yeah, it was, super lucky that mum thought to take me to the hospital because otherwise, it would have been worst case.
Well, that's the thing. It's really tricky, obviously, with a child so young, isn't it? To know what's going
absolutely. Yeah, because you think like, it could be teething, could be just like a growth spurt. Yeah. So
that must have been really tough for your parents. Do they remember it well? Do you know?
Yeah, well, back then we didn't have CGMs and I wasn't on an insulin pump till I was 5. So I don't think they slept much.
5 years
at all.
Really tricky, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm super grateful. They gave me they just tried to make my childhood as normal as possible and, learn how to manage my diabetes around that. And that's something that I'm, always super grateful for. But yeah, it just would have been hectic for them.
I imagine, it would have been quite the time, quite the roller coaster for your parents back then. And how old are you now?
Now I'm 28 now. So
28.
I've been type 1 for 27 years.
27 years. And on a pump.
Well,
someone out there can tell us.
Yeah.
And so you've been on insulin pump since you were 5?
Yeah, pretty much continuously. I've had a couple of mini breaks or pump holidays over the years, but nothing longer than 2 months. So
I imagine the pumps nowadays are very different to the first pump.
Oh my gosh. The first pump I was on if I think back to it now, it's like something from Back to the Future. It was real clunky. The display screen looked like a Tamagotchi.
Yeah.
Nothing like what we have now.
Yeah. So you're on an insulin pump still now?
I am, yeah.
Which one do you use?
I'm on the Ipso pump at the moment. I started when Gia, my daughter, was, I think, 6 weeks old. I would not recommend changing pumps that soon after giving birth when your hormones are still all crazy.
Of course.
But it was just such bad timing. My warranty expired, I think, when I was 8 months pregnant. But that's probably an even worse time to change pumps. So we kind of just waited it out. I was on T-Slim before.
Okay.
So, swapped over. I've been on it for about 7 months now. I've just switched to Fiasp as well, which has been a bit of a game changer. Yeah, it's going well.
As if you didn't have enough on your plate with a newborn
and
then changing insulin pump. Do you want to talk to us actually a little bit about Fiasp and your experience with it?
So I was on Nova Rapid probably 18 years. Before that, it was Humalog. And because of the pump I was on before, I couldn't use Fiasp because of the reservoir. It needs the glass reservoir, apparently. So it's just much quicker acting. And now that I have a baby, pre-bolusing is
of course.
It either goes very well or very, very badly. So it's just been so handy. Kicks in heaps faster. I don't have to worry about, pre-bolusing 15 minutes before I eat. And also goes out of my system faster. So when I exercise and things like that, it's a lot easier without I never have as much insulin on board as I used to have.
Yeah. Are you still quite active, or you're quite active?
Yeah. I'm training for a half marathon at the moment.
Oh, are you?
Yeah. So
nice. Which half marathon are you doing?
The HBA.
Favorite topics.
Oh, are you a runner as well?
Yeah. I did Gold Coast last year.
Oh,
and
nice.
Training for Brisbane this year.
The full or the half?
Just the half.
Yeah.
Not the full.
I would not recommend a full.
No. Have you done a full?
Yeah, I did the New York Marathon.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it was sick. But I have a child, but her birth was the best day of my life and my wedding. But the New York Marathon was the third best day of my life, I'd say. Yeah, it's
beautiful.
Sick. So sick.
Yeah, awesome. Oh, good. And so you just changed over from the T-Slim.
Yeah.
Was the Fiasp the reason for that change, or?
No, I actually didn't even think about FIASP until last time I was at my diabetes educator. She suggested it. So the main reason was because it's one of the only pumps approved for pregnancy, because you can set your own glucose target. So for pregnancy, it's much lower than usual, whereas the T-Slim has like a fixed target for Control-IQ. So I was just, thinking ahead. It's 4 years. It's a huge commitment.
Yeah. It's a long relationship, that one.
Yeah, it's a very long relationship. So I just kind of wanted to future-proof that decision a little bit. Yeah. Big change for me because I've, been on T-Slim and Medtronic, and I feel like they're the two bigger, more prominent pump companies, but so far pretty happy with my choice.
So you've tried a few different insulin pumps, have you?
Yeah.
Which one did you find worked for you the best?
Well,
or have they all sort of worked? And
I was actually thinking about this the other day because quite a few people asked me on my page, which pump has been the best? Which one do you recommend?
Yeah.
My mindset with diabetes is especially with pumps, you're stuck with this thing for 4 years. You're just you got to see the positives in it. Right now I'm finding all the positives with the Ipso because in my mind, I know I've got another 4 years. If I'm just looking for every negative or everything that doesn't work exactly how I want it to, that 4 years is going to drag out. If you had asked me when I was on T-Slim, I would have said the same thing. Each pump has its pros and its cons, but I've kind of trained my mind to think, be more pro-leaning.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you just
it's easy to look at the negatives, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
When an insulin pump starts playing up or something starts going wrong, it's easy to forget that it actually does some amazing things.
It's one of those things where it's diabetes is always going to bring up some issues. Pumps aren't perfect. Nothing's ever just going to be 100% exactly how you want it. You just kind of have to have that lens that you're looking through. Just make the most of that 4 years. And if you really hate it that much at the end, just swap. But I kind of just try to limit the negative thoughts. Yeah.
That's a good way to look at it. I think it's really important for people to actually remember that and to consider, with their insulin pump and with technology in general is, it doesn't always work. And
no,
it's something I talk about a lot is my sensors play up
a
fair bit. But, remembering that they actually do an amazing job and makes things easier.
Think back 10 years ago, we didn't have, access to CGMs. Where we are now, even if we have a few hiccups, is miles ahead of what we were doing back then.
Absolutely, yeah. It's saving the fingers, that's for sure.
Yeah.
My fingers they'd had enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, look, we're here. Obviously, we want to chat to you about pregnancy and diabetes and childbirth with diabetes. And it's a very interesting conversation because it's something that I imagine you probably wouldn't have considered too much.
Well, that being said, when I distinctly remember being at my diabetes clinic when I was a kid and one of the endos saying to me, if you want to have a baby, you need to tighten up shit. Even back then, it's not scaremongering, but there's definitely a lot of negative, I wasn't filled with confidence, let's say, I would be having an easy time with pregnancy.
So we might actually dive into your pregnancy a little bit and your journey of going through pregnancy with diabetes. And do you want to take us back to the start and talk us through sort of the decision of, okay, we're ready to have a child and what that meant for you with type 1 diabetes?
Yeah. So I've always wanted to be a mum from when I was, 4 years old. I had all my little dolls and then it became all the cousins. I just always knew, I didn't know what I wanted to be, what I wanted to do with my life, just that I knew that I wanted to be a mum. So it was always in the back of my mind that I need to have my diabetes on track, really well controlled by the time I'm ready to have kids. And, in the year after I got married, I started to really, you see things online on Instagram. There's a lot of people who it appears like they're having the perfect pregnancy. Their blood sugars are unreal. And that just actually scared the crap out of me.
Yeah.
So I had to talk to a lot of people who've been through it before. I let my diabetes educator know that I was, thinking about it. And oh God, it's like, there's so much that you don't even think about. I had to start folate, like high dose folic acid, I think 3 months before we started trying.
And what was that for?
So there's a lot of research that shows that people with diabetes are more likely to have a child with neural tube defects. And they're not like 100% sure of why that is. It's just a higher incidence. So taking that folate, the high dose, is like a protective mechanism against that neural tube defect.
Yeah.
So yeah, started taking that, changed my in-range sort of target. Oh gosh. I think I changed that about a year before. So took it to 4 to 10. I used to have it from 4 to 12. And man, you don't realize, like, I was hanging around the like 11, 12 sort of area a lot more than I expected. So it took a long time to kind of tighten that up. And then, had to turn off Control IQ on the T-Slim because that's not approved for pregnancy. So my diabetes educator was amazing. Like, she helped me so much, but it was a long, long process of like making sure everything was refined. I was ready with all my supplements. I was just aiming to be as healthy as possible before we even like started thinking about
was
trying.
This the advice of the diabetes educators? Was just let's get everything in line and then go from there?
Yeah. So generally they say the more prepared you are, the better. Obviously you can't help it if there's, a little surprise, but they say 3 to 6 months beforehand of planning.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And so then that got you to obviously the point where you were obviously ready to start trying.
Yeah.
Did you have any complications through that time at all? Or
No,
was it
I was very, very lucky. Like, didn't take us very long at all. So yeah, pretty lucky there.
Yeah. And then obviously through your pregnancy, and I really want to dive into sort of how pregnancy affected your diabetes.
Yeah.
Did you see any major changes in your diabetes through
my
your
gosh.
pregnancy?
It's
a silly question.
it was like nothing I have ever experienced. It was I've had diabetes for a long time and I thought I knew my stuff.
Yeah.
It's completely like the hormones are just next level. The first trimester, I had a lot of lows, which is quite hard when you're, feeling like nauseous and stuff.
Yeah.
I lived on like sour worms. And then, it's also like that anxiety of like, if my blood sugar is high, like you've got all those years of doctors saying you need to, have your blood sugars between 4 and 7.8, or, it's going to affect your baby. Like, that's a huge mental toll. Anytime I went, after a meal, I started to spike up, I would just like absolutely panic. I've been doing like walks around the block. I think my neighbors thought there was something wrong with me. Because it was like the middle of summer, like it was hot and I was pacing. Yeah. So, and it was also tricky because obviously in the first trimester, you don't normally tell a lot of people. So it was quite tricky to manage.
Yeah. Did you see, like you sort of touched on your blood sugar levels, but did you see these change much at all in like your carbohydrate?
Yeah.
Sort of sensitivity and stuff like that? Did that all change during pregnancy?
Yeah. So in the first trimester, it went like my insulin needs dipped like probably 3/4 of what I would usually use.
Do you know why that would happen?
I think it's all like the growth hormones and the placenta's growing. It's using a lot of energy to, grow that little embryo.
Yeah.
But then once the placenta is like established around 20 weeks, it makes hormones that make you like super insulin resistant. So
yeah, right.
From like 20 weeks onwards, my insulin needs were just like going like up.
Wow.
From 28 to 32 weeks was like the biggest jump. Oh gosh, I was like bolusing, I think maybe 4 times my usual carb ratio.
Wow.
The basal changed a bit. Basal went up like, I don't want to put percentages on it just because I don't know how to calculate. But yeah, basal went up a bit, but it was mainly the carb ratios and the correction factors that were just like astronomical. I was on, double to 4 times what I'm usually on.
So it's amazing that, through different stages of your pregnancy, your diabetes management changed drastically. Like, your requirements for insulin. Like, that would have been so tricky to go from, not needing as much to then all of a sudden it's like, well, what the heck's going on? Like, why do I need so much? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it is quite gradual. Like, it's sort of a week by week, you're changing your settings.
Yeah.
But it's full on. And then towards the end, if your insulin needs drop too much, it can be a sign that your placenta is not working anymore. So you've also got to keep an eye out for that.
There's a lot of extra considerations, isn't there?
Oh, it's huge. It's honestly, until you like go through it, I don't think you can sort of picture how much extra load it'll be. But full on.
Yeah. And did you experience any other major challenges through the pregnancy?
I would say just like my anxiety was like through the roof, just trying to make sure, everything was, okay, and trying to make sure I was doing the best for my baby. Towards the end, I also like one of my legs just like absolutely blew up.
Okay. Wow.
Like I had swollen ankles, obviously, but one leg just went like, it was actually comical how much it blew up. So,
my God.
I had to go to the emergency room for that. And that's sort of what led to me being induced early. But up until then, it was a very good pregnancy, I would say. Like I didn't have morning sickness. I mean, I had morning sickness, but I never like threw up, which made things like a lot easier because if you're throwing up, there's the risk of ketones and stuff, which is quite dangerous in pregnancy. But pretty chill until the very end.
Pretty chill, she says.
I mean, pretty chill.
My God.
What do I say?
Here, I'm sitting here thinking about this like, holy moly, this is, this would be a lot to take in. Obviously, everything went well and your girl's here now. And
all worth
but
it.
obviously it's something that you've got to consider when you're going through pregnancy with type 1 diabetes. So I want to touch on sort of the medical support and that side of things. Do you feel like you had control over your pregnancy? And do you think your healthcare providers truly understood sort of diabetes in pregnancy, or is it really case by case?
To be honest, I went through King Edward Hospital, which is the public hospital here in Perth, and they have a dedicated pregnancy clinic. So everyone in that clinic is like very well educated on diabetes. So I was very lucky in that sense. But I mean, outside of that clinic, I'd get the comments of, oh, you're going to have a big baby, all of that stuff, which I did, but I did because my husband's 6'6". I was also a huge baby when I came out. So
there's no chance of a small child.
Yeah, no, there was no chance. But overall, very lucky.
Yeah, nice. And you sort of touched on the blood sugars and all of that before, but do you think there's a lot of pressure on women going through pregnancy to maintain perfect blood sugars? And is it, is it attainable, or you said, like, you touched on how tricky it is?
Yeah, like for me, so the gold standard is having your blood sugars between 3.9 and 7.8, or 3.5 and 7.8 for over 70% of the time.
Wow.
And for me, that, like, I achieved that twice in my whole pregnancy for a week, like to have that as my weekly average. It was super, super hard. And there was times when I would go on Instagram, look at other women who were pregnant, and they were like, it just looked like they were just easily getting 90% in range throughout their whole pregnancy. And I thought, like, what is wrong with me that I can't do this? I was trying so hard. Like, I was doing everything I could to keep my blood sugar in that range. But like, the hormones are crazy. Like, it's one of those things where there's only so much you can control. So I had to kind of reframe my mindset of like, look, just do your best. That's all you can really do. and sort of had to like stop comparing myself to what I saw online.
Well, that can be the thing with Instagram and stuff like that, isn't it? It's a highlights reel for
Yeah.
a lot of it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can only look into that so much, can't you?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Did you have a birth plan as such and all go expectedly or?
No, it didn't. So
No, it didn't.
I
Say no
chose
more.
delusion as my birth plan.
That's
I
great. Yep.
just decided like as long as like my babies comes into the world safely and
Yeah.
like I come out of it relatively unscathed, then that's chill. Like I just trusted, the doctors and the midwives to do like whatever. I mean, I did know the gist of what I wanted. I knew that I wanted an epidural because, I wanted to try without it first. And then if it was really painful, and obviously it was really painful. Well, I don't know what I thought. I was like, how bad can it be?
Newsflash, yeah.
Like, so yeah, I sort of had in my mind, it would be like, zen, like I would be listening to music and I don't know why. Yeah. I don't know what I was thinking. Like, I'm really not sure because I went in, obviously I had that thing with my leg. I was 36 weeks when that happened. So a full term pregnancy is 40 weeks. But with diabetes, they generally don't let you go past 38. So it was 36 weeks with the leg. And then my insulin needs started to slowly sort of drop down. And I was having some hypos. And the doctor said, look, you need to come in for monitoring because like this can be, quite dangerous. If the placenta's not working, that means the baby's not getting the nutrients it needs, which can have very bad outcomes, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
So sort of went in for monitoring. I think it was like 8 a.m. Well, no, they called me at 8 a.m., said come in. I went in at about 11 and they basically just said, look, we're going to induce you tonight. And the next night I had my baby. So,
wow.
I mean, overall, good experience. Like my labor was awesome. Like I had lovely midwives. It was, after I got the epidural, I was just chilling. I was literally like laying there. They're like, oh, you're having a contraction now. I'm just sitting there eating my little muesli bar. Like,
what?
Yeah. Yeah. I will say though, I had like barely any insulin that day when I was in labor.
That was my next question for you was what was that 24 hours like in terms of insulin intake and your levels as well?
I barely bolused for anything.
Yep.
The night they induced me, they gave me like, when you go to hospital and it's a diabetic meal of like poached chicken and like a carrot or something.
Yeah, no carbs, no fun. Yeah.
I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm in for a big day tomorrow. So can I at least have the cheesecake? Like,
I think you've earned that at that point.
Yeah,
John.
yeah, 100%. So I got the cheesecake, which was good. But all through that night, like I was having contractions and like just kept going low. So my brother bought me like 4 bottles of Sprite, and I was kind of just sipping Sprite, eating muesli slice the whole way. And I felt like I was just laying there. Why am I going low all the time? And the midwife was like, your body is actually running a marathon right now. Like you just have an epidural, so you can't feel it, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all went really well until it was time to push. My daughter was in fact very large.
Yep.
But that's like, not diabetes related. That's just me and my husband as people.
Yeah.
So her shoulder got stuck on the way out, which it was crazy. Like there was 2 people in the room and then within 10 seconds, I think there was like 20 people in the room. So it was quite hectic at the end. They had to use forceps, which if you don't know what that is, they basically look like big salad tossers. And I was like, you're putting that where? So... yeah, they had to use that. I also had to have an episiotomy. Not sure if you know what that is.
No, what is that?
They take scissors and cut. Yeah, so at that stage, I was like, can you bring the anaesthetist back so I can give him my sincere thanks, because that epidural, if I didn't have an epidural, that would have been all like without pain relief.
Yeah. Oh, no.
And yeah, it was, I literally felt like I was being, it was quite, I don't want to say traumatic, because there's people out there who have had a lot more traumatic births than me, but it was full on. Like, you know, I saw,
there's
it
a
was
lot
just,
happening.
it was a lot
There's
happening.
scissors and salad tossers coming into the room.
It was a salad tossers for me. That's what.
I'm never going to look at salad tossers the same again.
It's honestly, don't Google what they look like.
No.
So yeah, she got stuck. They said basically, like, you need to give like one last push. Like, you need to give everything you've got, or we're going for a C-section, like emergency C-section. So
yeah,
I sort of just, you know, gave it everything I had, and she came out. It was the scariest moment of my life, because like, she was stuck for apparently under a minute. And they say that anything above 6 minutes is when there starts to be some impact on the baby. Yeah. It felt like half an hour though that she was stuck. And when she came out, she was like purple. She like was bruised. You know, I like, time just stood still, and I just like, I could not. I think like my soul left my body. It was like, God, if my baby's not okay, like, you know, couldn't even think about it. And then she cried. She cried, and it was like, oh my God, I can breathe again.
Relief.
But then, you know, it's like, they don't tell you this when you're pregnant, but they're like, okay, now you have to give birth to the placenta. And so they give you this jab in your leg, and, you know, then you've got to do the whole thing again. It's not as bad, luckily. But yeah, the needle that they gave me, you know, they pulled the placenta out. I don't actually know what happened. It came out. I was on another planet at that point.
Yeah.
It came out, and then I had a big hemorrhage. So I lost like almost 2 liters of blood.
Oh God. Yeah.
So from that, they gave me another needle to stop the bleeding, and then another one. I don't know what that was, but I just like spewed, like just projectile vomited. And I got the shakes. Like, it was, is this like, as a male, like, how does it make you feel?
I feel like I'm about to pass out. No, it's all right. I feel like this is definitely an episode to watch on YouTube, because there's a lot of visuals and there's a lot going on.
But it was beautiful. It was
yeah.
So that was, I sort of had designated my mum as the person to take care of my diabetes. So she was keeping an eye on my blood sugars. She had my Dexcom, and, you know, when I vomited, she said like, oh God, like, we're in for a bit of trouble here, because, you know, all I'd eaten in the past sort of 36 hours was like a bit of mango cheesecake, like 2 bottles of Sprite, some muesli slice. That's it. Like, you know, she was really like, I think, quite worried about me vomiting, but turned out okay.
Diabetes wise?
I'm pretty sure they gave me something to stop the nausea. I don't know, because at that point I had the shakes because I'd lost all that blood.
Yeah.
So like, they're stitching the thing that they've cut up, and the obstetrician's like explaining to me like what just happened. And I just said to my husband, like, Liam, like, stay with Gia. You need to, like, I just need to know that she has a parent with her. Mum, first of all, don't leave me.
Yeah.
And second of all, can you just listen to what this chick's saying? Because I actually don't even know who I am at this point.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was hectic. My blood sugars, though, were like the best during labor, which apparently helps. So the problem that a lot of babies have when they're born and their mum has diabetes is that all the extra glucose in the mother's body can go through the placenta and can go into the baby. So the baby produces insulin on its own.
Yeah.
Jealous, but
won't hold that to you, baby, but that's all right. Yeah.
And so basically what happens is when they're born and they're like taken away from that glucose source, they've still got all that insulin in their system, and they can have really low blood sugar.
Okay.
So when they say that, you know, when you're in labor, if you can have your blood sugars in a good range, it helps with that blood sugar drop in your baby after they're born. So I was really lucky with that. I didn't need to go to special care or anything, which was very, very lucky. But yeah, crazy. And she ended up being super bruised. She's got, it's like a tiny faint, just a line that you can see on one side of her face from the salad tosses. But when she was born, oh my gosh, every time I looked at her, I would cry because like her face was cut up. Like it was,
oh wow,
like the obstetrician said, like this has never happened to me this bad before. Like,
wow.
She like apologized, but she said like, honestly, I just had to do what I had to do to get her out. So, she healed within a couple of weeks and then I realized that what she looked like in hospital isn't actually what she looks like.
Yeah.
Her face was purple, like, and they were telling me that she had jaundice, which is where their skin goes super yellow. And I was like, no, like, I'm not like, I'm half Asian. Like, that's her skin. And they're like, no. So, yeah, it was just absolute whirlwind. But,
absolute frantic couple of weeks.
Yeah,
just
crazy.
a lot to consider, a lot to think about.
Yeah.
I have to ask, and it's probably a question that a lot of people are probably thinking as they listen along, but do you know the likelihood of your daughter getting diabetes? Is that
so I've been looking into the stats and I can't find anything definite except from the American Diabetes Association. So it's not Australian, but apparently it's 1 in 100 chance for women if you give birth after you're 25. So
okay, wow.
That's
pretty low. I thought it'd be a lot higher than that.
Yeah, apparently it's pretty close to the chances of just a non-diabetic mother having a diabetic child.
Yeah, wow. That's surprising to me.
Yeah, I know. It is something that has worried me a lot more now that she's actually born. But I wasn't really concerned. We're so lucky we live in Australia where like we have access to healthcare, great diabetes team, all the tech and stuff for kids is pretty well covered. But not too worried.
Is it something that you think you're a bit more conscious of?
100%. Yeah.
Like anytime that there's something wrong, you're like,
okay. Now when she's like a bit thirsty or she's like wheezes more than usual, I like find myself spiraling a bit and I have to catch myself and be like, no, like this is a normal baby thing. Like it's hot or like, people get thirstier on different days. Like she's a mini human. I just have to remember that. But I think, your mind always goes to worst case, but it's something I'm trying not to think about too much.
Yeah, I think that's a good mindset. You just can't think about it too much, can you? Otherwise you would
but you drive yourself crazy.
Yeah. Reflecting back on everything that you've spoken about and everything that you went through in those 9 months and, following now that your daughter's born, what's one thing that you wish you had known before going through pregnancy with diabetes? Would you change anything or?
Wow, that's a big question.
There's probably 2 questions there.
Okay, let me think. I wish this is obviously impossible, but I wish I could have like a magic ball, could see that she would come out and be like a healthy, awesome, hilarious kid when I was like in that first trimester. Like I had, oh my gosh, I was 8 weeks pregnant and I had apple cutie balls for dinner.
Yum.
And so good.
Yeah.
But I woke up at like 1 a.m. and I was 17 and I was just like sitting in the bathroom, like I've hurt my baby, like, so I wish that I could just have that little crystal ball in those moments, look ahead, see, oh, she's awesome. She's great. She's healthy and be a lot less hard on myself.
Yeah.
But, it's hindsight, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Hindsight's a beautiful thing. It'd be nice if we could have that beforehand.
Yeah, but I think just honestly, like not being so hard on myself is the one thing I would change.
Is that something you would recommend, or is that like, what's, I guess, a piece of advice that you would give to someone who's thinking about having a child and is type 1 diabetic and might be worried about all these things?
Well, the first thing I would say is find like a diabetes educator that aligns with your way of living and how you approach your diabetes, because pregnancy is a long time, and pregnancy planning, it's talking about years here.
Yeah.
And you want to find someone who can set you up in a sustainable way. So for me, I simply could not go low carb. So if someone, if a diabetes educator said to me, okay, we're going to prepare for pregnancy, you're going to cut down on carbs, that's just not realistic. So the first thing would be to find a care team that, aligns with your values, and then pretty much just connect with other mums with diabetes, because honestly, what got me through some of the hardest, darkest moments of pregnancy was just DMing other mums who'd had babies. They've got diabetes themselves, and, they can just reassure me that it's actually going to be okay. That changed everything for me. So would highly recommend.
That's a great point, isn't it? To just connect with others.
Yeah.
And everyone's willing to help in this community as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's fine. So just connecting with other people and because especially if you've never been through it before, you don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, pregnancy in itself is a whole new ballgame.
It's wild.
And then you throw in type 1 diabetes and managing it and not knowing what's going to happen to your diabetes through your pregnancy and the different stages and your trimesters.
Yeah, exactly.
Talking to someone who's been there and done that, I think would be super important, wouldn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And also just for as a model of it's possible. That's quite powerful, I think.
Yeah, and that sort of leads me to my next question. And the next thing I want to talk about was you've launched something pretty cool in collaboration with the Perth Diabetes Centre. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, so PDC Health Hub it's basically the clinic that I've been going to for, over 5 years. The diabetes educators there are super on the same wavelength with me in terms of my lifestyle and how I choose to manage my diabetes. So after Gia was born, they try and get her to join mothers groups, and I was kind of feeling they're not going to understand what I went through or what I'm going through now. I just wasn't really interested in being part of a conventional mothers group. Yeah. So I went to Teresa at Perth at PDC and I said, I want to start this. And she was like, we'll back it. Amazing. Yep. So it's been so, so good already. We had our first meetup today, and it's just you get that thing of oh, will anyone actually want this? Does anyone actually care? Yeah. But this morning, talking to other mums with diabetes, that they just felt comfortable to share their experience and know that everyone else understood what they meant when they said how hard pregnancy with diabetes was. It's a whole bunch of unique challenges, especially postpartum as well. It's crazy what happens with the hormones. And if you're breastfeeding, that impacts your blood sugar as well. It's just so good to have a group of people who get it.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, congratulations, first of all.
Thank you.
It's an amazing program that you've started. And, obviously it's sought after. It's what people...
Yeah.
It's what people want. And like what you said, you went through the experiences, but you don't want to connect into a mums and bubs program with... I mean, you do, but you want people
There's
to understand
definitely a place for it. Yeah.
So it's definitely amazing what you've launched. Is there any online component to it? Obviously, you're based in Perth.
Yeah, we're based in Perth. So we're sort of ironing out the structure now that we're going to have monthly social catch-ups and then monthly online workshops. So we've got PDC have a whole team of healthcare professionals. They run a pregnancy clinic. So we'll have workshops about pregnancy planning, trimester by trimester, breastfeeding, postpartum, everything run by those health professionals. So that those ones will be online.
Beautiful. And how would people find out more about this program and what's going on? So
you can find all the info on our Instagram page, which is PDC Mums and Bumps, or just, the PDC Health Hub website, or just message me on Instagram and I'll send you the deets.
Diabetes, right?
Yeah, that's me.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And just before we conclude, what's just one last passing piece of advice for anyone who's considering having a child and is type 1 diabetic?
Just you need to block out the noise and just trust in your years of experience and that you can do it, and try and enjoy the journey as much as you can, because it really is the best. Like, having GR is the best thing I've ever done in my life. And every hard bit of diabetes, I can like hand on my heart say it was worth it for her. So don't be discouraged.
Oh, that's so lovely. It's so nice to hear. Like it's like it brings a smile to my face, and hopefully everyone out there is sort of, in the same boat. But I guess thank you so much for jumping on and for sharing your story and being so open about your pregnancy and your childbirth and your diabetes journey. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
It's been so fun. I can't believe how fast that went.
I know, yeah. We've been recording for 45 minutes already. Like, that's actually crazy. But thank you so much for your time and for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, stay in touch, and everyone out there, jump on Instagram and Emily's Diabetes on Instagram. Shoot her a follow, and let's stay in touch. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.
Strip Supply acknowledges the traditional owners of the land we have recorded this podcast on. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging.